In this video, finally, we are looking forward for the design analysis of a gravity dam by referring all the given data, by analyzing and by studying, by proper giving attention to what are the given or how what is exactly a given conditions. So based on this condition, we can solve and we are going to design this gravity dam. Basically, we have to check the stability of a gravity dam, whether the gravity dam is safe in overturning, safe in sliding, safe in tension zone, whether it is safe in compression zone. We have to check it. So here the two conditions will be given. So basically, when the reservoir is empty, there is no water, only the the dam is constructed, only a sulfate of a dam is taken into consideration. Then the reservoir is said to be an empty condition, and when reservoir is said to be empty, then in this condition we have to take a sulfate of a dam only. There is no other forces acting on the gravity dam. And when we are dealing and then we say that the reservoir is in a full condition, means what? On the upstream side there is a water pressure. Because of this water pressure, the uplift pressure will arises, because through the cracks, through the joints, some of the water will seeps into the body of the dam, and hence uplift pressure will also arises there. Then sulfate of a dam will be taken into consideration. And other than this, if other conditions are given, if seismic forces are given, silt pressure is given, so according to this we have to find out and we have to solve the numerical. So here you can see, you can read the numerical. The numerical said that check the stability of gravity dam section for the, which is shown in the figure, for the reservoir empty and reservoir full condition. Then in the same A section, they had said us neglect seismic forces, neglect earthquake forces, assume reasonable values for uplift and a line of a drain holes 6.5 meter downstream of the upstream phase. For the purpose of this check, assume water level at the top of the dam and no tailwater will be there. Also find principal and shear stresses at the toe and heel of the dam. Take unit weight of a concrete as 24 kilonewton per meter cube. Shear strength of a concrete is taken as 1400 kilonewton per meter square, and the mu value will be the 0.7. This is the A part. Then they are said to check the stability of a gravity dam. For this, they are given us based on the two conditions, we have to check the stability of a gravity dam: reservoir empty condition and reservoir full condition. In this, we are neglecting the seismic forces. We are assuming that the uplift and the drainage hole, the drainage gallery is provided in the body of the dam, which is at the 6.5 meter from the downstream side of upstream phase. Then there is a no tailwater, okay, and the water level, it is assumed as the water level is assumed at the top of the dam, and we have to find out the principal and shear stresses at the toe and at the heel, and other given parameters are also given. In the B section, they had said us check the stability. In the B section, they had said us check the stability of a dam section by considering seismic forces also. So in A part, we are going to neglect the seismic forces. In the B part, we have to consider the seismic forces. So here we are going to see the numerical in both the ways, when the seismic forces are absent and when the seismic forces are present. So assuming a value of horizontal acceleration coefficient alpha h is equal to 0.1, and vertical acceleration coefficient will be alpha v is equal to 0.08 for both uniform over the depth. So here are the given parameters. So let's see first of all the diagram. Okay, so you can see the diagram based on the given data. You can see here this is a section of a dam. The upstream face is partly vertical, partly inclined. Okay, the downstream face from the 10-meter above or from the top section, the section will be again inclined and its slope is given in 0.1 to the ratio, that is horizontal to vertical ratio is given 0.7 is to 0.1. Here you can see the 0.00 RL is given at the base section. So from this 0 up to the 35 RL, 35 meters, the portion will be inclined one. Again, at the top of the dam, that is 70 meters, we can consider and we are assumed that there is a water level on the upstream side. The top width of a dam is given as a 7 meter. Again, the base width and the drainage hole, as we had discussed, the drainage hole is provided in the body of the dam. So its value is the 6.5 meter from the downstream, or it is available 6.5 meter downstream of the upstream face. So you can say 3.57. If you divide this 7.5, 7 divided by 2, you will get 3.5. So 3.5 plus 3.5, it's 7 again. But you can see it is not absolutely in the middle part of the body of the dam. So its distance is a 6.5 meter from the upstream section. Okay. So based on this given data, we have to find out the base width, total base width. So here on the upstream side, the value, you can see the base value, the base width value is given as a 3.5 meter. Here the 46 meter from the downstream side of the body of the dam, the 46 meter will be the base width is given, and total base width will be the 52.5 meter. Okay. So other than this, there is no other given data. So by analyzing this diagram, after analyzing this diagram, we have to find out we have to check the stability of a gravity dam. So let's see one by one. See, first condition is reservoir. When the reservoir is empty, only the sulfate of a dam will be acting as a force. Other forces, namely as a water pressure and uplift pressure, will be zero. So the resulting force, that is summation of a vertical forces and the resulting moment for this case has been worked out in the next table. So what we had done here, we had calculated all these forces in a single table. Okay. See, you know that a reservoir, when the reservoir is empty, so the condition is that, and the only force is acting is that sulfate of a dam. The water pressure and uplift pressure will be absent and it will be zero. So after calculating this sulfate of a gravity dam, then we can calculate the the movement which are generated from these vertical forces. Then we have to find out the principal stresses, we have to find out the shear stresses, then we have to find out the factor of safety against the overturning, against the sliding. So for the avoid this lengthen part and to become the easier calculation, here what we had done this calculation in a single table. Okay, so here you can see. Okay, in A part, again you can see the previous slide. Just read the numerical once again, one by one. See, if the reservoir is empty, so basically we have to find out only a sulfate of a dam, that is W1, W2, W3. Only that much forces will be developed in the body of a dam. And because of these forces, the moment will be generated at the toe. See, we are resolving all the forces at the toe section. Why? See, if the major force and major water pressure which is acting on the backward side of a dam, it exerts the pressure. If we can't resolve all the forces on the toe section, then what happens? The anti-clockwise movement will be generated because of the upward pressure. Then the clockwise direction forces are also generated on the toe section. So if we avoid this movement, so this dam section will fail at the toe without giving any warning. So for this purpose, we have to resolve all the forces, all the movements at the toe section only. So here you can see the moment will be resolved at the toe section only. So when the reservoir is empty, so we have to find out the sulfate of a dam. So if again you recall that diagram, you recall that dam section, just you have to find out sulfate of a dam. So let's see once again that diagram. Okay. So here for finding out the sulfate of a dam, here we know that the dam section is irregular one. So we can't find out the area and we can't find out the resultant force which are acting on the body of the dam. So basically we have to divide this into a various section. So you can see here we are here dividing this section into a three mathematical diagram and mathematical shape. So here you can see on the upstream side where there is the inclined portion or from the 35 height of the dam. Here we are drawing a dotted line which joins on the base width of the dam. So this is your first section, or we can say this is your third section. Here you can see the third section, W3. Then again we are drawing a second dotted line which is again meet at the base width of the dam. So this is your second and this is your first section which is a rectangular one. Here lastly you will get a triangular section which is your third or which is your second mathematical shape. So by observing this, you can easily find out the forces, vertical downward forces. Always sulfate will act in the downward direction, in the vertical downward direction. So how we will find out the sulfate? So for the W3, the third section, you know that this is your triangle. So the half into base into height. This is your area. Then you will multiply this area with the unit length and unit weight of a material, then you will get the forces in a kilonewton. So how we will find out this? Take that section, take that triangular section, half into base is 3.5 meter, height is 35 meter, okay, half into base into height. That multiply by, we are here assuming when we take the stability of a gravity dam, we are assuming the length as a unit, or we are taking the unit length of a dam, means we are taking the length as a 1 meter only. So multiply by 1 meter, multiply by unit weight of a material. So if you remember, in a given data, unit weight of a concrete, because this body of a gravity dam is constructed with the help of a concrete, so we have to take the unit weight of a concrete only. So when we multiply this equation with the unit weight of a concrete, that is 24 kilonewton per meter cube, finally we will get the, here you can see, finally we will get the W3 value as a 1470 kilonewton. That is your forces. So see, I must say, then you want to find out all the forces for making this calculation very easier. Just prepare that table. Okay, just write down what you want to find out, then forces, that whether it is a vertical, whether it is a horizontal. Find out the lever arm, that is the center of gravity and the distance from the center of gravity up to the toe section. Then find out the moment. If you find out the force, you know the lever arm, you know the distance, so you will easily find out the moment which resolve at the toe. And you can write down the remark also. See, in that particular type of a numerical, they are given as a condition. So based on this condition, we have to give the analysis and we have to give the design calculations for the gravity dam. So here you can see this table makes easy calculation and makes easy understanding to student also and to the examiner also. So examiner will also get the idea that yes, student is calculation that done by the students is properly done or not, or it is whether it is correct or not. Okay, so you can see in the remark section, the reservoir empty condition, only the sulfate will be taken. So like the W3, if we find out the W3 part, then we again find out the W1 and W2 also. W1 is our rectangular part, so base into height. So base is our 7 and height is 70 meters. Remember, we have to take the whole and total top depth and total depth of a body of a gravity section. Okay, so 70 meter is the total depth of a gravity dam. So 70 multiplied by 1, that is a unit length of a dam, and 24 is the unit weight of a material, that is concrete. So here we will get the forces as 11,760 kilonewton. Again similarly, the second section, that is again a triangular one, again half into base into height, that equation will be applied and the forces will be calculated. So if again you recall, and if you seen the diagram, wait, just see the diagram once again. Okay, so here the second section is the triangular one, but here they had not mentioned any height. Okay, after the 10 meter, how much the height is there, so we don't know. So we can easily find out simply 70 minus 10, it is 60. Or if the 70 is also not given, so we can find out that height by using that slope, 0.7 is to 0.1. So we know the base weight. Okay, so base weight and base weight is given, so by using that ratio 0.7 is to 0.1 is equal to 42 divided by x. X is our vertical height, so we can easily find out that height. So after calculation of the sulfate here, so we will, what we had done, we had just summarized this, or we had summarized all these vertical forces. So this is considered as the sulfate which is acting vertically downward direction. So simply we can find out the lever arm which is acting, or which can be taken from the toe section only. So for the W1 it's 45.5 meter, W2 28 meter, W3 50.17 meter, and when we multiply this lever arm with the vertical forces, we will get the moment which is the positive. See again how this 45.5 meter will be find out. See, section 1. Section 1 is the rectangular one. Okay, so this is your rectangular. So center of gravity from this, for this section, always the base divided by 2 will be the lever arm. Okay, and then we resolve all the forces on the toe section. So we have to take that distance from the toe section only. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5 meter. Okay, 3.5 meter plus 42 meter is your 45 point or the 45.5 meter. That distance will be find out for the first section. For the second section, this is the triangular one and the distance is 42. So again, if you divide and you take that center of gravity, that is 42 divided by 3, okay, h by 3. So the value will be 42 divided by 3 is again, yes, you can find out 28 into 3. No, here we have to take the 2 by 3 into h, 2/3. See, when we are taking the center of gravity from the base width, okay, from the base width, so we have to take the distance and we have to take the lever arm as a 2/3 of a distance or 2/3 of a x distance. So here 2/3 into 42. So here we will get see, yes, here we will get the value as a 28. So just find out how this value will come. So you will get the idea that is 28 meter is the second section. Again, for the third section, if we want to find out the lever arm, the value is 50.70. So in this manner, we will find out the lever arm and finally we will get the moment. But here, this you can see here, this vertical downward forces will be acting. If this forces acting in a downward direction and its movement and its the direction will be a anti-clockwise one. Okay, so for analyzing and for checking out the stability of a gravity dam, here we are taking the sign for the anti-clockwise direction as a positive and clockwise direction as a negative. So here this forces, because we are resolving all the forces on the toe section. So here if the force will resolve on the toe section, it acts in or its direction is in a anti-clockwise direction and its sign will be a positive one. Okay, so in this manner we will find out the self weight of a dam. Then second condition is reservoir full condition. So when we are taking or we are considering the reservoir is full condition, then there is a water pressure, there is other forces which are acting on the body. So here only the water pressure is to be considered. In the first section they had clearly mentioned that neglect the seismic forces. Only the uplift, only the water pressure will be acting on the this part and this body of the dam. So the water pressure will be your next force when we are dealing with the reservoir full condition. So water pressure is acting horizontally. Okay. So again the water pressure will be found out by using, okay, the let me clear you first one more thing, that our uplift section is the partly vertical, partly inclined. You can see here, okay. And as we had discussed in the self weight of a dam, when this type of a section is given, we have to draw or we have to find out the two forces, which is the horizontal pressure and the water pressure will be resolved into two direction, horizontal as well as the vertical one. So you can see here the P5 and P4 forces will be shown here. This is the resolved vertical forces acting by the water pressure and considered by the water pressure, and the simple capital H, that is acting exerting force on the this dotted line. This is your resolved horizontal water pressure. So simply here we have to find out the P4 and P5 also. So again this is the irregular shape. So just draw the one line, draw the dotted line. So you will get P4 section as a triangular and P5 section as a rectangular. So similarly, P5 is the rectangular, so base into width. Base is your 3.5 and height is 70 minus 35 is your height. So base into height into unit length of a water, that is 1. And here we have to take the unit weight of a water because this force is decomposed and which is composed with the water pressure only. That's why here we are taking the unit weight as a unit weight of a water only. So multiply by 9.81. So that force which is acting downward direction, vertical downward direction, which is decomposed with the water, that force will be also find out. That is considered as the water pressure which is acting vertically downward direction. This is denoted by P5 and P4. Again for the P4, here half into base into height. Half into base is the 3.5, height is 35 meter. Multiply by 1, that is unit length of a dam, multiply by unit weight of a water, that is 9.81. So in this manner you will get the vertical forces of a water pressure. Similarly, we have to find out the lever arm for this particular section. So lever arm for the P5 is this is rectangular one, so base width divided by 2 plus this distance up to the toe. So the distance will be the if the 3.5 is the base width, so 3.5 divided by 2 plus 7 plus 42 is the lever arm for the P5. And for the P4, again 3.5 divided by 3 plus 7 plus 42 is your lever arm for the P4 section. So in this manner you will find out and you will get the water pressure, okay, in the vertical section. So as well as this force resolves in a vertical, that resolves in a horizontal manner also. So H value and pH force will be find out by analyzing the triangular pressure diagram, which is always in a triangular manner. So triangular, we know that half into base into height. So half is base is the gamma into H. Again H is the height of a water. So simply substituting this value, we will get the horizontal pressure. You can see the capital H is denoted for the horizontal water pressure, and that is find out by using the half into gamma H into H is your horizontal water pressure. The base intensity is nothing but a gamma into H. H is the height of a water which is available on the upstream side. So the horizontal water pressure will be 24,034.5 kilonewton, and its lever arm, it acts in a horizontal direction, so it acts always at 1/3 of a height of a water. So it's 70 by 3 is the lever arm, and then we multiply this horizontal pressure with the lever arm. We will find out the moment at the toe is the 556 lakh 8 or it's 5,60,805, okay, kilonewton meter, and it always in a negative manner. See the horizontal pressure, it resolves when it resolves at the toe section, it is in a clockwise direction, and we already discussed that clockwise direction we are taking a sign as a negative, and anti-clockwise direction we are taking the sign as a positive. Why negative? Why positive? Positive means the righting movements and negative means the overturning movements. Then the clockwise direction movements will be exerted at the toe section. The dam will definitely fail in overturning. So this, for this purpose we are taking this movement as a negative. And when this movement will be in a anti-clockwise, it resists that force and it resists the body of the dam to fail. It protects the dam for the failing or in the situation of failing. So that's why this direction on that anti-clockwise movement will be taken as a positive. So here we have finally find out the sulfate water pressure, which are resolved into a vertical as well as a horizontal direction. So both direction we are finding out. So just you have to differentiate what are the how many forces are vertical and how many forces are horizontal. Similarly, when we discuss that when when in the numerical they had given us that the reservoir is full condition. So when the water is available on the upstream side, so definitely the uplift pressure will arises through the cracks, through the joint. The water will seeps into the body of the dam, and for this we have to consider the uplift pressure only. You can see here whenever we calculate the any forces, whether it is vertical, whether it is horizontal, just we are simply summarizing and we are taking the summation of these forces, so that in the last part and then we want to find out the any stresses. So just what we are done, we have taken that summation of the forces, summation of the moment, and simply just substitute the value and find out the required value. So here you can see the moment to positive moment will be taken separately, negative moment will be taken separately. So this is the water pressure having a vertical as well as horizontal direction pressure. So here what they had done, the positive moment summation will be taken as well as the negative moment will be taken, and just simply they are subtracting that moment and final product will be written down. Right. Okay. Now next, when the reservoir is full condition, just now we had discussed that we have to consider the uplift forces also. So here again in the diagram, just look out the uplift pressure diagram. See, based on the various conditions, our uplift pressure diagram will be arises. See, first of all, when there is a water pressure on the upstream side, definitely we will get the value of, see, you can see 686.7. It's a value of, the value will be calculated by taking the unit weight of a water multiply by the height of a water which is available on the upstream side. So by multiplying this, we will get that height and we will get that uplift pressure intensity at the hill section. You can see here this uplift pressure diagram will be simply coincides with the horizontal line. It simply meets at this section, at the toe section. Why? Because there is a no tailwater. In the numerical, they had simply tell us that there is a no tailwater. Hence, this uplift pressure will be directly coincides, will be directly meets at the end of the, or it meets at the toe section. Fine. So, but in between this, in between the body of the gravity dam, there is a drainage gallery. So whenever the drainage gallery is provided, so we have to take, and because of this, the uplift pressure diagram will be affected. So you can see here your uplift pressure diagram at the section of a galleries, line of a galleries, this will be tilted. And the value is nothing but the 1/3 of a uplift intensity which is at the hill section. Again here also we have to divide the section because this section is also irregular one. So for finding out the uplift pressure, uplift forces which is acting upward vertical direction. So for this purpose we have to divide this forces in the section. You can see U7, U8 and U6. We had already divided this, or they had already divided the section. So by referring that section, we can directly find out the uplift pressure or uplift forces. How? For the U6, this is a triangular one. Again, half into base into height. Okay. Here we had already considered the gamma unit weight. Because of the unit weight of a water, here the intensity will be arises. So here while calculating, we need not to take unit weight of a water once again. Already the value will be calculated on the base of a unit weight of a water. So here simply half into base is your, see, from this line of a this dotted line, your horizontal distance is a 46 meter. Your height is 1/3 of a intensity at the hill section, that is 686.7 divided by 3. This is the vertical distance. So half into base into height is the uplift force for the U6 section. U7, this is a rectangular one. So simply your base width is 3.5 plus 3.5, or sorry, it's 6.5, not the 3.5. As already is as given that 6.5 from the upstream face. So 6.5 multiplied by the 686.7 divided by 3, the value that is given, that will be calculated. The U7 pressure uplift force will be the, after multiplying these factors, we will get the U7 force. For the U8, again it's triangular one, so half into base into height. So half base is the 6.5, height is again 686.7 minus 686.7 divided by 3. The value which is remain, this value will be the height of the U8 section. So half into base into height will be the pressure and the force of a U8 section. So in this manner we are going to find out the uplift forces. Simple, and in the similar manner we have to find out the lever arm also, which is taken from the, which is considered from the toe section only. So for the U6, for the U7, for the U8, we are simply finding out the lever arm, and after finding out this lever arm, we will get the moment which is resolved at the toe section. So once again I am telling you that is uplift forces is acting in the vertical direction, but it acts in the upward direction. So we are taking the positive sign when the force is acting in the downward direction, and when the force is acting in the upward direction, the sign will be a negative one. So here you can see the upward direction, and for the vertical forces, the forces is in a negative manner. So this negative forces, the summation of this negative forces is the summation of the uplift forces. Then after finding out the lever arm, after calculating these forces, you will get the negative moment. See, once the uplift forces acting on the body of the dam, it acts in the clockwise direction. So whenever and whichever the force which is acting in the clockwise direction and which resolves at the toe in the clockwise direction, that moment will be taken as a negative one. So here we will get the negative value, and then finally after taking the summation of the moment, we will get the summation of a moment of a, or we will get the moment 3 and moment, what do you say, third part of a movement. So this is our first condition, when the reservoir empty and when the reservoir is full condition. So after calculating all these forces, finally what we have to do is we have to find out the resultant position of a resultant force. See, simply we will find out the forces which are acting on the body, etc., etc., but where and at what position the resultant force will act from the toe section, that we have to find out. The position that will be find out by using the x bar is equal to summation of moment divided by summation of, see, this summation of moment 1 means when the reservoir is empty. For this condition, here we are taking the summation of moment 1 divided by summation of vertical forces, that we are only dealing with the self-set in the reservoir empty condition. So for this condition, the x bar will be 33.48 meter. And again, when we want to find out the distance from the center, and we said that the eccentricity from the center line of any structure, where the load is acting and where the force is acting, that point and that distance from the central line of the structure is known as the eccentricity, and that eccentricity will be calculated by using the equation V by 2, that is half of base width minus the x bar. So for the reservoir empty condition, x bar will be the minus 7.23. That means the resultant falls to the left of the center. Left of the center, it falls in the left direction. So we will get that value. Now find out. We know that we want to check out the gravity dam. We have to check the stability of this gravity dam in a compressive zone. So we have to find out the compressive stresses, normal compressive stresses, that is denoted by Pn, which is acting at the hill as well as which is acting at the toe section. So firstly, we will find out the toe section normal stresses. That will be find out by using the equation summation of vertical forces divided by P. You can just refer the previous slide also. We had already discussed that part. Just we have to summarize, we have to take that equation for the solving the numerical. So summation of V1 divided by B into bracket 1 plus 6E upon B. Again, because of the typing mistake, the 1 plus 6EB, again it repeats. The equation is like this: summation of vertical forces divided by B into bracket 1 plus 6E upon B. Why it's plus? Because it is acting at the toe. When we are taking the negative signs, when it is acting at the hill section. So simply substitute the value, summation of vertical forces when the reservoir is empty. Just take out the table and just take the value of a vertical forces when the reservoir is empty is 43,470 divided by base width is 52.5 into bracket 1 plus here the E value we got the value as is minus 7.23. So just simply put that value as it is, minus 7.23 divided by B is 52.5. So finally we will get the normal compressive stresses at the toe is 143.8 kilonewton per meter cube, and we know that the compressive maximum permissible limit is 3000 kilonewton per meter cube. So it's within the limit, hence it is safe in the compressive zone at the toe section. And similarly find out the normal compressive stresses at the hill section. Here just we have to change the sign. So the equation remains same, summation of vertical forces divided by P into bracket 1 minus 6E upon B. Substitute the value again and finally we will get the value as 1500 or 1512.2 kilonewton per meter square. Again this value is within the permissible value, so the dam is safe in a compressive zone. So next we have to find out, they had said us that to find out the principal stresses, shear stresses. Okay, so we have the formula with us: principal stresses for the toe section as well as at the hill section, shear stresses at the toe as well as at the hill. Depending upon the condition, if the tailwater is there, so our principal stresses equation will be changed. Then if the earthquake pressures will be taken into consideration, then our principal stresses equation will be changed. Here for the reservoir empty condition, there are no pressure and there is no any other forces except than the sulfate. So here sigma 1 principal stresses at the toe will be normal stresses which are acting or which are occurring at the toe section, Pn into sec square phi. So here phi is nothing but the angle and the slope which makes at the toe section, which makes at the downstream section. So how we will find out that phi? So tan phi is nothing but a 0.7 divided by 1. So the sec square phi is nothing but a 0.49. So just you can do this calculation in a calculator also. Simply put the value here and find out the sec square phi is nothing but a 1.49. It's 0.49 is wrong. It's 1.49. substitute the value of sec square 5 here. Sigma 1 value will be 214.3 kilonewton per meter square. Similarly, we have to find out the principal stresses at the hill section. So principal stresses at the hill, again, there are no other forces which are acting on the hill except than the self-weight. So here normal stresses acting at the hill into sec square theta. So theta is nothing but the angle which makes at the upstream section. So theta here, when we refer the section on the upstream side, the inclined one, we will get, and we will, by referring that section, we will get the theta. Tan theta is equal to C opposite to the adjacent. So opposite is the 3.5 meter multiplied by, divide by 35. We will get the value as 0.1, and sec square theta is nothing but 1.01. Substitute the value Tn at the hill and theta, that is sec square theta value, we will get the 1527.3 kilonewton per meter square. So this is the principal stresses which are occurred at the toe, which are occurred at the hill when the reservoir is in a empty condition. Similarly, the shear stresses when only the sulfate is to be considered. So Pn into a tan phi. Tan phi already we had find out. So substitute the value Pn and tan phi. We will get 100.7 kilonewton per meter square. Then at the hill, tau will be Tn tan theta. So tan theta is 0.1. So value is 151.2 kilonewton per meter square. See, there cannot be any sliding and overturning because the reservoir is empty. No other external forces are acting on the gravity tank. So simply for the reservoir empty condition, we will get that all the calculations with us when reservoir is empty. Now, when we say that the reservoir is full condition, okay, reservoir full condition. So already we had calculated in the table the uplift pressure, horizontal water pressure, vertical water pressure. So simply we have to take that forces for the further calculation. So again here the values, summation of values of a vertical forces, that is V2, a moment of that is M2 will be taken into consideration. See, that part they had already elaborated and they had extended that part. Just we had seen the next part. You can see that slide if you want to see. See all these part from this section, from this slide up to this slide. Yeah, this slide. Okay. They again divide and they again consider that reservoir is full condition, but there is a no uplift pressure. So again they had extended that numerical. If you want to check out that equation and if you want to check out the calculation, just check that slides once again. We are just jumping on the third case, that is reservoir full condition, and we are considering the uplift pressure also. So here, if you remember in the tabular form, we will get the summation of V1, we will get the summation of V2, and we will get the summation of V3. V1 is for the sulfate, V2 is for the water pressure when it acts in a vertical direction, and third vertical force will be the uplift force. So here when we want to find out the x bar, that is position of resultant from the toe, then we have to take consideration, or we have to take all these vertical forces. We have to take all the three summation of these forces. So here moment of the forces and moment all the summation of moment divided by all the summation of vertical forces will be the x bar. So value will be 18.27. You can check out the value here. See why they are given here summation of M3. Already I had told you in previous second case, they had solved the reservoir full condition without the uplift pressure. So in that equation, in that case, they had already taken the summation of M2, summation of P2. Here, when we are calculating the reservoir full condition, when we are dealing with and we are considering the uplift forces also, we have to take the summation of P1, summation of V2, summation of V3. So we are going to all, we have to add all the three summation of vertical forces. So finally, we will get the x bar as 18.27 meter. Again, we want to find out the eccentricity. How we will find out? The base half of the base width minus x bar. So here we will get the 7.98 meter. Then we have to find out the normal compressive stresses at the toe at the heel. So equation is summation of C divided by base width into bracket 1 plus 6E upon P. The value will be 1348.7 kilonewton per meter square. So the compressive stresses is greater than the one which is obtained for the second condition. So it is what we can say when we are considering the uplift force. So it becomes worst. So again, we want to find out the normal compressive stresses at the heel by using the same equation. Only the sign will be changed, 1 minus 6E upon P. So substitute that value, we will get the 62.1 kilonewton per meter square value. Again, finally find out the principal stresses at the toe, principal stresses at the heel. At the toe, there is no tail water, only the sulfate and only the normal stresses which are occurring at the toe will be taken. Pn into sec square theta, sec square phi. So say phi will be, the value will be 1.49 and the sigma 1 will be 2010 kilonewton per meter square. Again, the it's a principal stresses at the hill is sigma 1 is equal to, there is a mistake, this is the principal stresses at the hill, Pn into sec square theta minus P tan square theta. If you remember, in the compressive stress or in the principal stresses, if the water pressure is there on the uplift or upstream side, we have to take that force also. So Pn is the normal stresses acting at the hill, sec square theta minus P is the water pressure acting horizontally minus or into tan square theta. So here we will get the value as 56 kilonewton per meter square. Here stresses at the toe, again Pn tan phi, tan phi is the 0.7, value will be 944 kilonewton per meter square. Shear stresses at the hill, again there is a water pressure acting and on the upstream side. So the shear stress equation becomes C. Shear is always acting in a reverse direction, in the direction of the force. Okay, so the reverse sign will be given minus bracket Pn minus P tan phi. Substitute the value. The final value will be 62 kilonewton per meter square. So as there is the water pressure, there is uplift pressure. So the obviously the dam will fail in a overturning. It may be fail in a sliding also. So we have to check the factor of safety. Again, go to the slide when we are discussing the mode of stability or mode of failure of a gravity dam. In this, we had already discussed all the points. Similar, just we have to use that equation here. When we want to find out the factor of safety against the overturning, we have to take the righting moments to the overturning moments, positive moments to the negative moments. So in the table, you can see what are the or which are the positive moments and which are the negative moments. So by taking that ratio, we will finally find out the ratio as 1.78, which is greater than, which is always greater than the 1.5, means the it should not be greater than 1.5. So means the dam will fail in a overturning. Factor of safety against the sliding, we have the mu into summation of vertical forces divided by summation of horizontal forces. So finally factor of safety is 1.079, which is less than 2. Here the typing mistake is there, please understand. If you refer that slide, you get the idea that the factor of safety against the sliding should not be greater than 2. Okay, so it should not be greater than 2, hence the value is within the limit, so it is safe in a sliding. Shear friction factor, the equation is mu into summation of vertical forces plus width of our dam into C coefficient, then divided by summation of H. By substituting all the values, we will get the value as 4.14, which is greater than 4. Hence, it is unsafe in shear friction factor. Again, if again we want to check out the safety against the sliding according to the IS code 65121984, and if we are taking the F value as 1.5, F5 and FC value as 3.6 as per the load combination which are given and which we had discussed earlier. So by substituting that manner, we will find out finally sliding factor as 1.568, which is greater than 1. So finally we can say that it is safe in this dam is safe in sliding, but it is unsafe in overturning. It is unsafe in a shear friction factor. Now the second part will be the B part will be they had given us to consider the seismic forces. So if you remember in earthquake pressure slide, in earthquake pressure video recording, so we know that the effect of horizontal acceleration gives us two forces, that is inertia forces. Second one is the hydrodynamic forces. As well as the vertical acceleration, they move either in upward direction, either in a downward direction. So we have to consider and we have to find out the seismic forces properly. So hydrodynamic pressure due to the water it is caused by due to the earthquake can be found out by using the Zenger's formula. If you remember, when the upstream section is vertical one, so we can simply adopt the Bone-Kármán's method or Bone-Kármán's formula for finding out the hydrodynamic pressure. And if the upstream face is vertical, partly inclined, then we are choosing the Zenger's formula. So here, because since the slope is up to the middle depth, and the approximate value of theta can be found out by joining the hill to the upstream edge. So here we are finding out that tan theta 1 is equal to 3.5 divided by 70. The value is 0.05 and theta value will be the 2.862. So simply by substituting this value, we can find out the Cm. Just to recall that formula once again. Substitute the value that is 0.735 multiplied by 1 minus Cm upon 90. Cm value or theta value will be 2.862. So Cm value finally we will get 0.712. Right? So according to the Zenger's formula, PE is equal to Cm alpha H into gamma into H. So Cm that we had already found out 0.712. Alpha H is given, that is 0.1, and gamma is 9.81 because this is the water pressure, the fluid is the water, and H height of water is 70. So the PE is 48.89 kilonewton per meter square. So the total pressure, that is PE finally, this is capital PE, okay. So the total pressure will be found out by using 0.2726 into small PE into H. So simply substitute the small PE value, that is 48.89 kilonewton per meter square here, and finally we will get the value as pressure as force as 2485 kilonewton, and moment due to this force at the base will be found out by ME is equal to 0.299 small PE into H square. Substitute the value, we will get the moment as 71,629 kilonewton meter. So the calculation of the forces and moments due to the inertial earthquake forces is done in the tabular form, which is shown in the next slide. Okay. And this table is to be prepared in continuations of the previous table. Okay. So see, whenever the seismic forces will be considered, you have to consider all the forces, all the water pressure, all the sulfate, all the uplift pressure. Here we are dividing these cases, we are dividing this condition as A part and B part. In A part, we are only dealing with the water pressure when the reservoir is full condition, when there is no any other forces, the reservoir is in a empty condition. So we are looking the various condition. But whenever you have to ask to find out and to check the stability of the gravity dam, you have to find out the sulfate, you have to find out the water pressure, you have to find out the uplift pressure, as well as if seismic forces are given, you have to find out the seismic forces also. So the next table, it is in the addition of the previous table. Just please remember that. And here we are mentioning that this is the vertical forces for moment 4. Right? Now, if you remember, when the horizontal earthquake acceleration affects on the body of the dam, the inertia force will be arises. So we have to find out the inertia force due to the earthquake on the weight of a dam. It always acts with the in the according or in the combination of a weight of a dam. So the summation of V1 means the sulfate of a dam multiplied by the alpha V, that is vertical acceleration. The vertical forces will be minus 34,776 kilonewton. Then in the horizontal manner, when we want to find out, we have to multiply this alpha H horizontal coefficient acceleration with the weight of each section that we had already discussed. Please recall that slide. Please refer that slide for the further understanding. Just whenever you want to solve any part, just refer that slide and then solve. Okay, so W1 multiplied by alpha H, it's 1176. W2 multiplied by alpha H, 3024. W3 into alpha H, 147. Similarly, we have to find out the lever arm also, its horizontal pressure. So it always acts at the with the or from the base only. So we will get the value as 35, 20 and 35 divided by 3. Then finally, we will find out the moment, which is product of horizontal forces multiplied by the lever arm. Right? So the always this moment is in a negative because it acts in a clockwise direction. So the hydrodynamic pressure we had found out in a previous slide, that is 2485. It acts in a horizontal manner only, and its movement will be a clockwise direction. Again, its sign or its movement is in a negative. So finally, finding out the summation of the vertical forces, summation of a horizontal forces, summation of a positive movement, summation of a negative movement, we will get the final product of a movement as 38 or the 3,85,528 kilonewton meter. And here we will get the summation of a vertical forces as 33,554 and summation of horizontal forces as 30,866.5. Similarly, again we have to find out the position of resultant force. Here we are taking, or here we are considering the forces along with the sulfate, along with the water pressure, along with the uplift pressure. The seismic forces will be considered. So the X bar value is the total summation of moment. Okay, total summation of moment divided by total summation of vertical forces. So X bar will be 11.48. Again, eccentricity is B by 2 minus X bar. The value is 14.77 meter. Again, the normal compressive stresses at the hill Pn is equal to summation of P, the vertical forces divided by B into bracket 1 plus 6E upon B. The value is 1780 kilonewton per meter square. Compressive stresses at the hill, the equation becomes summation of vertical forces divided by B into 1 minus 6E upon B. The value will be minus 440 kilonewton per meter square. When the value is negative, then the forces and stresses will be developed at the hill is tensile one, and then the value is the positive one, and it occurs at the toe section. The stresses developed at the toe is compressive one. Since the resultant does not fall within the middle third and the value of tensile stresses is greater than 0.2, okay, the dam is unsafe under the seismic condition. So just we had concluded that because of this reason, because we had seen the resultant will fail or fall in the right section of a dam, from the center of the dam. So it is unsafe. So again, principal stresses at the toe. There is no tailwater, so simply Pn normal compressive stresses at the toe into sec square phi. Sec square phi already we have calculated the value as a 1.49. Substitute this value. The final value will be 2560 kilonewton per meter square. Now the principal stresses at the hill. The equation now changes. Why? Because at the hill section, at the upstream section, in the addition with the water pressure, we have the hydrodynamic pressure also. So equation become Pn sec square theta minus into bracket P plus Pe. Pe is hydrodynamic pressure into tan square theta. So the value is minus 452 kilonewton per meter square. See, the principal stresses value is negative, so it is unsafe. Shear stresses at the toe, again Pn into tan phi. Simply substitute the value, we will get 1203 kilonewton per meter square. Again, shear stresses at the hill is minus into bracket Pn normal compressive stresses at the hill minus into bracket P is the water pressure plus Pe hydrodynamic pressure into tan theta. Substitute that value, we will get 1176 kilonewton per meter square. And finally, we have to check the factor of safety against the overturning. So positive moments to the negative moments. Substitute that value, we will get 1.33. Actually, in previous slide, I had told you that when the value is greater than 1.5, it is safe. I'm sorry, when the value is greater than 1.5, it is safe. And when the value is less than 1.5, then it is unsafe. So here you can see 1.33 is less than 1.5, so it is unsafe in a overturning. And factor of safety against the sliding, similar manner, mu into summation of vertical forces divided by summation of horizontal forces. Value is 0.761. The value is less than 1.5. Again, it is unsafe. So the shear friction factor is the mu into summation of vertical forces plus width of a dam into C, that is coefficient value, divided by summation of H, horizontal forces. The value is 3.14, which is greater than 3. And finally, the safety against the sliding according to the IS code 65121984, based on the loading condition E, means the water pressure plus uplift pressure plus sulfate of a dam, reservoir full condition, and plus seismic forces. This is your loading condition E. So the value is F is equal to, substituting the value using that equation, 1.52, which is greater than 1, but the dam is completely safe in a sliding section. So in this manner you can solve the numerical. Just you have to analyze, you have to read the numerical properly. What are the conditions are given, and based on this condition you have to solve, you have to check the stability of a gravity dam. I hope you understand. If you don't understand any part by solving this numerical, just check out that part, check out that slide. Then we had already discussed that equation, how this equation will be developed, how this equation will be derived. So I hope you understand. Thank you for watching this video.